Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? It is 4:57 p.m. and I am vlogging early today. I'm not gonna vlog for like an hour straight right now. I'm just gonna do a little bit right now and then I'll do some later. But I was out like running errands and stuff, and I was gonna do a review video, but I decided that I'm just not gonna film any videos today. I'm just like super relaxed, and I've been like driving around, and I was listening to my audiobook earlier, and then I just been driving around listening to music. I've been listening to The National, which is like one of my favorite bands, and I've been listening to old Rolling Stones, Faraway Eyes. I was just listening to, I love that song. My mom loved the Rolling Stones so much. And I've been listening to Bob Dylan, Mary Chapin Carpenter. I've just been listening to some really good music today. I got my coffee and have just been kind of like driving around, doing some stuff that I wanted to do. I don't usually, like my days are not, like I have a lot of errands that I run, but I don't just like go to the bookstore. And I went to the bookstore today and I went and got some new meditation books for my Peterisms channel to read some new meditations, and I just kind of drove around with no place to go and listened to my audiobook for a little bit. And I was gonna film videos today. I had planned to film videos, but I got home and they were like chopping, like not chopping wood, but like they had taken down a tree, like a tree fell or something. I don't know what happened, but it was like two like condos down from us. And so they had like one of those, like they were like woodcutter things back there in the woods. And it was so loud that I couldn't film videos at home anyway. And I was like, okay, maybe this is like a God thing, because I kind of like just wanted to relax today anyway and just kind of just go do stuff that I wanted to do. And so, although I had videos I wanted to make, and so then I thought, well, I'll go do a review video because I want to do a review of this Baby Yoda Frappuccino. It's on the secret menu at Starbucks. Like everybody's talking about it. A couple people have sent it to me. So I looked it up and it actually looks really good. So I want to, plus I think that Baby Yoda thing is real cute. So anyway, I wanted to do that review, and then I got to Starbucks and the line was long, and I don't like to do the videos when the line is long because I don't like to, you know, like bother them with all of that when I'm doing it. So I usually only do the reviews for Starbucks like when there's no line at all. So I was like, I'm just gonna get my coffee and then I'm going to just go finish my errands. I'm gonna go to Meijer and I'm gonna get some just like kind of like snacky food, whatever. And Alex is just gonna hang around the house tonight too. And I'm gonna finish watching The Confession Killer. I have 2 episodes left. I'm actually on the 4th episode right now. I finished the 3rd episode last night. It's really, really good. I mean, it is really, really, really good. It goes so deep into so much stuff that had like nothing to do with Henry Lee Lucas. I mean, he was really, it's really sad actually, like, not to him. I mean, he was just a really, I don't know how it ends, so I guess I shouldn't say that, but I've heard about him before when other people talk about true crime. I mean, he was really a sick individual. But the fact of the matter is that he was really used by law enforcement, and not just law enforcement, but all kinds of people, you know, within the system as a manipulation tool, and almost kind of like a political diversion manipulation tool, and it's just really sick and sad. So I want to finish that because I have new shows I want to start. I have 3 hours left of my audiobook. I want to finish that today or tomorrow. I'm not going to probably finish that today because that would mean I would have to listen to like 3 straight hours, and I don't have it in me tonight. I also want to take a nap here in just a little bit because I'm just so relaxed, and I made the bed real nice, and it's just been such a like great day. It's just been so relaxing. I like woke up today literally, and I was just kind of like, my head was just kind of resting like this. I had this like really kind of strange but great dream. It was a really nice dream to wake up to. And I like turned over, and like Tucker and Boo Radley were like right there sleeping so soundly. It just was such a nice like way to wake up today. And had my eye appointment today at was at 2 o'clock, and went in there. Nothing is wrong with my eye, thank God. A little blessing right there, a big blessing. She said my eye is just really, really irritated, and So she did an exam on my eye, and my eye doctor was fantastic. And she had me laughing so hard. She was like, Peter. I said, I know. I said, I always, she goes, always? And I said, I know. Forever I wore my contacts and took them out every single night. She's like, you've always been really responsible with your eyes. I said, I know. And she said, okay, so we've learned our lesson, right? I said, I've learned my lesson, definitely. She said, because your eye is fine. She was like, but the next time it could be more serious. And I said, I know, like, I've learned my lesson. So, but she did an eye exam too, because I needed an eye exam. I was like 6 months late on an eye exam. So she, and the reason why, just so, you know, you should always get your eyes checked every year, but my prescription has literally not changed once in like 10 or 15 years. Probably longer than that. I've had the same prescription in my eyes for that long, and my prescription changed today. I couldn't believe it. And I kind of wondered because, you know, my mom later in life, she had a really hard time like at night driving and seeing, and I don't really have that problem. But I did notice that things were not as sharp at night as they were during the day. I also noticed, like, when I wore my glasses the last 2 days, that I can see things much better with my glasses than I can with my contacts. Well, one of my eyes is different now than the other one, which before I always had the same prescription in both eyes. So I had one eye that, she said it went up a click. And then she also talked to me about my reading glasses, and she was like asking me if I was wearing reading glasses regularly, and I said no, and I said I do. I said, but like not, I have them like all over the place, but like I don't like all the time. And she was like, well, I really don't want you straining your eyes. And she said, you know, if you want, we can do the bifocal contacts, which actually a lot of people mentioned in the comment sections. And I said, I don't know if I really want to do that yet. She also talked about, it was interesting how many eye doctors and people that work in the eye field, the ophthalmology field, watch my vlog. So thank you guys all for the comments. But she also said that she called it something mono, something where like one eye is your primary eye and the other eye is like back here or something like that, and it kind of evens things out. She said we could do that too with contacts and glasses. And I said I would just prefer to do the contacts the way that I was doing it, and then wear the readers. And she said we can do that. She was like, but it'll just be easier for you to have the bifocal lenses. And she wrote me a prescription for both. And she said that I could, like, you know, try them out if I wanted to do that. So I may do that too. So yeah, that was good. And then there's actually like a Starbucks over, right over by where my eye doctor is, that always has a lot of cups and things like that. So I went in there and they have all the Valentine's Day cups. I did not buy any. I was like, I don't need any, but I might have to go back tomorrow or Sunday and get one. And then they also have the mermaid cups. So if you didn't know, they came out with like this whole set of mermaid cups. They have like the hot coffee mermaid cups. They're beautiful. I mean, they really are beautiful. And then they have the Valentine's Day cups are okay. Like I didn't see any that I love. Now I've heard that there's some really cool ones, but I didn't see any on there that I just like, I was like, oh my God, I have to have these. They were just pretty basic to me. I liked them. They were nice, but they weren't any different. I've been trying to use different ones of these because like I've been using this one for a couple days and then rinsing it out at night. Oh God, I just hurt my wrist putting that down there. Because I have so many that I've been trying to like use different ones. I actually had a gold one sitting out that I was gonna bring with me today, and I haven't used yet, and it's just sitting on the counter. I didn't bring it. So that was that. I went into that, and then that was when I was gonna come home and film videos, and I got home after my eye appointment, and they were doing this stuff outside behind the house, like this tree thing or whatever. And so it was so loud, I was like, I can't film videos. Like it's just gonna, like the sound is gonna be horrible on it. So then I was like, well, I'll go do a review video at Starbucks. And I just didn't feel like it because the line was too long. I don't like to do the reviews when the line is too long there. And So I was like, well, I'll do it tomorrow. So anyway, and then I was just like driving around listening to music and stuff, and I was so relaxed. I was like, I just think I'm gonna just not post videos today. It'll be fine. And I posted 2 drama videos yesterday. The thing is that's frustrating about that when I do that is that I always have all these videos that I want to make. So then it puts me like a day behind, you know? It's whatever. There'll be another day that I can make videos, you know? And I thought, well, it'll just be, you know, maybe good for me just to kind of like relax for a day and just listen to my audiobooks and, you know, watch this documentary and stuff. So I'm kind of just driving around right now. I was gonna go to Meijer, but then I kept on driving to vlog for a little bit. So I'll drive down here and then I'll turn around and I'll go to Meijer and I'm gonna get a bunch of snacks and stuff for the weekend. I'm gonna get some hummus and some things like that. And then I don't think we have a whole lot going on this weekend. I know Alex he's going out with some friends tomorrow night downtown. I will not be doing that. And I think we're just gonna both be around the house tonight. So I got 2 books at Half Price Books. I realized that I'm just going to get on the Hazelden site. So the Hazelden site is where these meditation books come from. Hazelden is like, they're a treatment facility in Minnesota, and they're like the hub of like recovery programs and stuff like that. But anyway, they put a lot of this literature out. And there's actually a book that I want to buy from them. So I'm gonna get on their website and see if there's other meditation books. I'm also gonna get on Amazon. But this one is called Hazelden Meditation Series, Days of Healing, Days of Joy, Daily Meditations for Adult Children. And I'm assuming that's adult children of alcoholics. And I went through here, and some of these meditations are really, really good. I actually found another meditation book, but it was all for women, which I thought doesn't really matter. But it's one of my favorites that I have at home that my dad and my stepmom gave me when I got sober, is all for women. But at the same time, I was kind of like it was a lot about women's issues and things like that, like personal issues. And I was like, well, I don't know how I would turn this into like a video if I read it. It was about like, I mean, I could. It was about a lot like about being a daughter or being a wife and things like that. And I was like, but there are some fantastic books for women in sobriety, women that are not in sobriety, grief books just for women and whatever. I actually found about 5 or 6 different meditation books. One of them I have. They have like 3 of the Melody Beatty books there. I got that. And then I got this book, which my mother got me years and years and years ago. I think I still have it at my office. And that is by Richard Carlson, PhD, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. And there are little essays in here, and they're fantastic. And so I want to like read like one of these, you know, per day or whatever. And this is such a great book. I remember reading it years and years and years ago. There's one in here about Get Found Kid. I think that's in this book, about the kid that I think it's this book. If it's not this book and somebody knows what I'm talking about, will you let me know? Oh, you know what? I know what book it is. I have it at home somewhere too. Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. I need to find that book too. That's another good book to read from this year. Because I want to do the meditations, but I also want to do like more story times on that channel. Like I want to tell more stories of my life on my meditation channel. I want to do more like reading stories like that. But there's this great story. I think it's in that one, and it is because there's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff that my mom loved. She also loved Conversations with God. She also loved Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, and then she loved the Life's Little Rule Book, which my mom used to always say to me in there. She'd say, don't forget what it says in Life's Little Rule Book, or instruction book, and I'd say, what? It's this beautiful book too. It's like blue or black, and it has like red gilded pages on the side. And I would say, what? And she'd say, on page such and such, it says, a simple thank you is all that is necessary. She would always say that to me. It drove my mother crazy that people would not say excuse me and thank you. Like, it drove her crazy. And you know, as I get older, I really, like, I find that sentiment as well. Like, I feel like Tanya was noticing the other night, like when we were driving to the meeting, was this last week or was it the week before? It might have been, I don't know. But anyway, she said there was like a fire engine or a police car or something coming by. And she goes, do you realize that people don't pull over for police cars and stuff anymore? She said something about, didn't your mom teach you how to drive or something, to somebody that was like, because these people were not, like, I pulled over. And she said, people don't pull over for police cars and stuff anymore. She goes, it's crazy to me. And I said, I know, they don't, you know? And we got talking about like things that have changed, you know, like when I grew up, like respecting your elders. And respecting your elders was not just mom and dad or grandparents. You know, respecting your elders was your neighbor, your teacher, you know, your minister, your pastor, your, the woman that worked at the grocery store. Anybody that was older than you, okay, you respected them. You called them by their first and you called them Mr. or Mrs. and their last name, you know, or Mr. and Mrs. and their first name. A lot of people would do that, you know. You said excuse me to people. You said thank you, you know. You let people out of the elevator and out of the door before you went in. That was like a big one. You always put your napkin on your lap, you know. And it's interesting to me, and I'm not, obviously not perfect with that stuff, and, you know, and I think cell phones have changed it a lot too, because it's like wherever you go, it's like people are always like this. And so they're not saying excuse me or thank you or whatever, because we have become, I think, a cyber world where we don't have as many interactions with human beings. We have more interactions with our phones, you know. And myself included, I mean, I do the same thing. When I'm standing in line somewhere, I try, like, it really is a pet peeve of mine. I really try not to be on the phone, like, when I'm, like, in line at, like, the grocery store or at the gas station. Like, I always, like, if I go into a gas station, I say to my friends, like, let me call you right back, and I leave my phone in the car. Because I think it is so rude when somebody is checking out and they're like on the phone. I will say this, and I don't know, like, it kind of cracks me up a little bit, the world that we live in now too, that people actually, while they are working, are talking on their phones, having personal phone calls. I mean, I just cannot even imagine, like back in the day, like when I, you know, didn't work for myself and I worked for somebody else, I mean, personal phone calls were a huge issue. Like, right? Like, you were only allowed so many personal phone calls a day. You needed to be doing that on your break unless it was an emergency. And now it's like I walk in the gas station and someone's got like the earbud in and they're like talking to somebody else while they're checking you out. And it's like, this is like, what happened like to the world, you know, that we're now having personal phone calls the entire duration while we're working, you know? Bottom line, unprofessional. Bottom line, whatever. It's rude. It is rude to the customer that is in front of you. And basically, I think it's a huge sense of entitlement that I'm doing you a service by even standing here. It's like, I don't know, like what? It's just crazy to me. I mean, maybe it's me getting older. My husband does the same thing. He'll have those earbuds in and he comes in and he's talking to somebody on the phone. And I'm like, I don't know if he's talking to me. I'm like, are you talking to me or are you talking? He's like, oh, I'm talking to Sarah. I'll be off in just, I'm like, okay. You know. I feel like a lot of the ways that, I don't know, I'm either probably upsetting people right now and people are like, oh, he's going off on a tangent, or people are like nodding their heads and they're agreeing. I'm not saying that we have to live in this world where there's completely, you know, all of these, we're living right by the rules and whatever, but I do think that maybe that's where a lot of like respect has been lost for one another. You know, to say please and thank you, to say excuse me, you know. That's a big one that I notice a lot. You know, is like people will walk right into you and they just like, oh, here's one. So yesterday, I was in this store and this woman, she had this beautiful hair and it was like all these different colors. It was really cool, right? And so I said she had like these really neat dreadlocks and stuff, and it's just her hair was beautiful. And so we were at the counter and I said to her, I said, your hair is beautiful. And she goes, what? I just was like, okay. So anyway, she gave me my receipt, because nobody ever wants to give a receipt anymore, so you have to ask for a receipt, you know. I said, can I? So I started walking away. I said, can I get a receipt, please? And she's like, oh yeah. And so she gave me a receipt, and I said, have a good evening. And she laughed again. I was like, I must be a joke and I don't even realize it or something, but anyway. But I will say this, I think the other side of that is that you never know, like while I think some of it is rude, at the same time, it's like, you don't ever know what that person's day's been like, or what's gone on with them, you know, like, she may have had a super tough day or whatever. Her hair was still beautiful, but she may have had a really, really tough day, and she just, you know, had enough or something. Who knows? When I was growing up, my parents corrected me about a lot of that stuff. Like, I can remember, like, I've talked about this on here before, but like calling my like neighbors and stuff, but if I called them by their first name, like, my dad would have corrected me. Like, let's just say if like the neighbor's name was like Joe Smith, which it wasn't, but let's just say if it was. I'm like, did I have a neighbor named Joe Smith? No, I didn't. But like, if I would have said, like, if my dad would call him Joe, and then I would be like, Joe, my dad would have said Mr. Smith, Peter. And I think what was interesting too, like growing up, you know, with my dad as a doctor, this always was interesting to me. You know, my dad had a nurse for 20, 25 years. I mean, she was like part of our family. She never, I don't think I ever once, and my dad would tell her, he'd be like, you know, call me by my first name or whatever. I mean, I heard him say it time and time and time. I mean, she was at our house. She like went out on the boat with us. Like, I mean, we traveled with her. I mean, she was in our life. She like picked me up from school and took me places. I mean, she was like friends with my mom. Like, you know, I mean, really pivotal part of my life, really pivotal part of our life. And it wasn't like she was like, I mean, she was my dad's nurse, but I mean, like, they work side by side, you know? I mean, like, my dad saw her as his equal, and I don't think I ever once, the entire time she worked for him before she retired, I don't think I ever once heard her ever call my dad anything other than Dr. Monn, ever. And, you know, it was always so weird to me because, like, I mean, I didn't, you know, see my dad as, like, Dr. Monn. And, you know, when I would go to the hospital with my dad or whatever, people would always, like, people that I would see him, like, you know, on the weekends or whatever, like, we used to go skiing with, like, you know, like, a lot of other, like, when I was younger, like, a lot of the doctors and, like, nurses and techs and stuff like that would all go skiing together in Michigan. And so, like, I would know them as, like, Sally Joe or something, right? And my dad would call them Sally Joe. But they would call my dad, and these were people that were the same age as my dad, you know, and they would call my dad Dr. Monn. And he would be like, you know, call me, you know, by my first name or whatever. And they would be like, no, Dr. Monn. Like, they always did. And, you know, I just think that we live in a different world today. I don't know. It's so funny when people today, like, somewhere call me, like, Mr. Monn, because I don't feel like a Mr. Monn. Like, I just don't feel like a Mr. Monn at all, you know? So it's so funny to me when I get called that. Or, like, when you go into, like, a gas station, there's, like, some kid there. I have to say this, I really do. Like, sometimes it is the younger kids that work in gas stations and places like that, in grocery stores, that are, like, 15 to 20, that are nicer and more polite and more well-mannered than people that are my age. I mean, in all honesty, it really is. That are sometimes like, oh, you know, like, here's your change, sir, which I hate, sir. I really do. I always, like, kind of laugh. I can't believe I had already vlogged for 23 and a half minutes. But, you know, like, I really hate sir just because it ages the hell out of me. But, I don't know, it's just, you know, maybe it has nothing to do with generation. Maybe it has nothing to do with age. Maybe it has to do with who raised us. I don't know. And maybe there's a point of being too polite or being too mannered or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe we don't need to be that way, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy, like, when I drive by, like, high schools on, like, a Friday night, you can see, it's like, I was like, there's so many cars at that, at the high school, but I bet it's like a basketball game on a Friday night, right? Is this basketball season? Or is it out in the fall? I don't even know. No, I think we're over basketball season, aren't we? That's a fall sport. Is it a fall sport? Football is a fall sport, I know that. I was done with school at 3 o'clock. Let me know, I'd be interested to know what you think about the manners thing in the comment section below. Like, please, thank you, all that kind of stuff. I mean, is that a bygone thing? Are we done with that? Like, do we not need to worry about that anymore? Or what do we think about that? I'd be really interested to know what some of you think out there, of all ages, because I know there's all ages that watch my vlog. I'd be really interested to know what you think about that. But anyway, yeah, when I was in high school, while I have vlogged, I have been here for the whole entirety of them building that ginormous farmhouse out there. It is beautiful. And when I was vlogging, I remember they started building it, because that was when, if you have not watched my vlog for a long time, I'm coming up on this area. Oh my God, Fox Hollow Farms is right over there. But I can't go to Fox Hollow Farms because I don't have my smudge spray or my black, what do you call it? And I don't want to get sick, and there's bad spirits out there. Because I was going to drive by it and show people that hadn't seen it. But anyway, right up here was where the cooler was that night. So one night, if you haven't watched my vlog, if you're not a consistent watcher of my vlog, one night I was driving up here and there was a cooler on the side of the road. And I so wanted to get out and see what was in the cooler, but I was too afraid, because I was thinking of that movie 7, and then everybody in the comment section was like, yeah, that movie 7 where like Gwyneth Paltrow's head is in the cooler. Wasn't it Gwyneth Paltrow? Anyway, I was so scared to like get out and check this cooler. Oh my God, I so wish I would have checked the cooler. But anyway, and then the next day I went back and the cooler was gone. Was it the next day or was it like 2 days later? But I went back and the cooler was gone. I was gonna open it and kick it and just run and see what was inside of it. Could have been snakes or anything, but I really wish that I had done that now, because I really want to know. But at the same time that the cooler incident happened, they started building that house. And now that house is done and they've been living in it for months. It's a beautiful house. Beautiful houses all around here. $500,000, $1 million homes. And like they throw them up in about 6 weeks. I love these houses around here, but like on Meridian in Indianapolis, which is like, it's called Meridian Kessler. They have like homes that are from like the early 1900s to the 1950s, and they're massive. Some of them are just adorable, you know, little colonials and stuff with like, you know, brick walls, wood, like authentic wood flooring, just exposed, you know, brick in the house, in the kitchen, fireplaces in the kitchen, window seats, gorgeous houses, right? That if you're gonna throw up a house for $1 million or $500,000, why wouldn't you buy something like that? Like, I know people like new homes, don't get me wrong. Like, my husband, he doesn't want to be in a home, he wants to be in a condo somewhere on like the top floor, you know, but dream on. But like, I get it. Like, I like the idea of a new house. Like, when you walk in it, it's like, oh my God, we have like friends of ours that buy new houses, and I'm like, oh my God, everything is new. Like, I love that. But at the same time, it's like the character and the charm of like one of those houses, not to mention that those houses in that Meridian Kessler area, like my cousin told me years ago, she said, if you're gonna buy a house, that's where you wanna buy it. And I said, why? And she said, because literally like every year they flip in prices. Like, they just never go down. They just go up, 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 up. Because everybody wants to live in that area, but apparently not. They're like, these glasses are like cutting behind my ears or something. I don't know, they're like hurting me behind my ears. Back in the day in high school, if it was a Friday afternoon, I would have come home, and so Monday through Thursday, my friend and I, like my junior and senior year, she and I went to Castleton, which is a mall about 20 minutes from where I grew up in Carmel. And so we would go to Wendy's like every day after school. It was bad. And I would get a double cheeseburger plain, with fries and a small Frosty. And then we both got the same thing, and we would dip our fries in the Frosty. We went there like literally every day after school. And then I would take her home, and then I would take a nap and whatever. She was one of my friends that was a twin. The other twin, I was friends with my sophomore year, and then her sister, I became really good friends with my junior and senior year. She was like my best friend my junior and senior year. I had like 4 girlfriends that I hung out with, and they were like my ride or dies, my like junior and senior year. But she was like she and I were like inseparable. And but on Friday nights, my junior and senior year, what would I do? Like, what would we do? We went out to dinner a lot. So I would come home, and then like I would change. And I remember in the winter, I was like very much, my kind of style back then was, like my junior and senior year, was very kind of like beatnik London a little bit, I would say. Like, I had always jeans. I didn't wear jeans a lot until probably into my junior, beginning of my senior year. And I had these like Doc Martens I would always wear, but I also had these shoes that were, the brand was called Berlin, and they had like huge heels, like they weren't like platforms, they weren't like that. They were like, if you ever saw the shoes that Ducky wore in Pretty in Pink, they were kind of that, but they were all black. I got them at the store in Indianapolis called Future Shock, which I think is non-existent anymore. And then I would always wear like a black, I always had turtlenecks. Like I had a lot of turtlenecks. I had like a black turtleneck. I remember this one turtleneck I had, and it was kind of like this like ribbed, like, not for her pleasure. No, it was a turtleneck, family friendly. It was like this purple and black, and it was like really small, like pinstripes. And I loved that. I had like a couple different ones like that, and I would wear sport coats over them. Or I would wear button-down collared shirts, and I would button them all the way to my neck. I mean, I was thin in high school, and I would button them all the way to my neck, and then they were just kind of like loose flowing over. I wore suit vests a lot with like a shirt like that, or like I would wear suit vests with like a t-shirt when it was warmer. Yeah, but we would go out to dinner. We went to this place called Schaefer's a lot. I know that my friend that watches my vlogs from high school, she's dying right now, because she's like, oh my God, these are the days. So I had what did I drive back then? A white Mitsubishi Montero. It was a 2-door stick shift. Oh my God, I loved that car. And I had bumper stickers all over the back of it, like, you know, like peace and love kind of bumper stickers, you know, Earth Day, save the world, all that kind of stuff. And I loved that car so much. And if you've never seen a Mitsubishi Montero, they're like, I don't think they make them anymore. If they do, they're not the same like style. They were very boxy. So it was an SUV, but it was like super, super boxy, almost like a Jeep Wrangler, but not. And I wish they still made them. They were so cute. If they do, I haven't seen one in forever. But then we would go to Schaefer sometimes, which was this. Oh no, Schultz's. I think it was Schultz's, which was like this sandwich restaurant we would go to a lot. And it was at Glendale Mall. We didn't like to do things in Carmel where we lived. I never with my friends. I don't know about some of my friends, but I know like my best friend that I was talking about that was a twin, and my friend, I don't know about my friend that watches my vlog, because she got a boyfriend. Probably, there's like a car parked way out in the middle of the field. That's kind of sketchy, isn't it? I always think everybody's like in a true crime, something going on, serial killer. But anyway, she got a boyfriend. I totally remember him. It's so weird because like, I talked about him one night on here. I don't even know how I remember his name. I remember his initials were JM, and I have no idea. She's probably dying right now. I don't know how I remember his name. I mean, it's been 30 years, right? And he and I were not friends. But he kissed my ass so bad, and I think it was because she and I were friends, and he would like always come up and like start these, I don't even know that she knows this. He would like come up and like start these conversations with me, and I really kind of liked them together, actually. I feel like it ended poorly for some reason, though. I feel like something really tragic happened. I don't know why. But anyway, but he was really nice to me, and he was like, of all of my friends, like the boyfriends that they dated, like he was like the nicest. And he would always kind of come up and like talk to me when she wasn't there, and like really kind of like, I remember thinking I thought he was kind of an ass kisser, because he was like trying to like like, I was kind of like, dude, what's your motive here, is what I thought. But anyway, I think he and I had a class together. I think we had like French together or sociology or something, I don't know, but he was real nice. I think she was a year behind me. Weren't you a year behind me? You were, no, she was a year behind me. I know that for a fact. So, I remember she was like, okay, so all of my friends were very like different, like punk rock, with the exception of like 2. And she wasn't punk rock. She was like blonde hair, very cute. And I remember she went to France on like I think an exchange, or she went to Europe for like backpacking I think maybe just backpacking for a summer or something like that. And she came back and we all went boating at my dad's house. And I remember like all these people came out. It was like 5 girls. And I remember she just sat back and she had like this white bikini on. I mean, like, you know, platinum blonde hair and this white bikini. And she was just like sitting on the back of the thing. And I remember this one friend of mine who ended up later like being so scandalous and stuff. I found out. We'll leave that story off of here to tell my friend a little bit. Anyway, I have this friend of mine and just scandalous and jealous. And I remember she said to me later, she's like, you don't need to bring her on these boating trips anymore so that she can just lay there in her bikini. And I was like, I'll bring whoever I want to bring. Thank you very much. But anyway, so yeah, so we would go to this restaurant called Schultz's, and it was at Glendale Mall, and I remember they had this California club sandwich that I absolutely loved, and really good fries. And then we would sometimes go to Houlihan's, and I would get chicken fingers. That was like a mainstay of ours too. And then another place that we would go was called Schaefer's, which I first said, but Schaefer's that I was thinking was actually Schultz's. Schaefer's was across the way at Glendale, and it was a fondue place, and we used to go in there, and we would just get the cheese, and we would get cheese and chocolate fondue. And we would order waters, and I'm sure the waitresses hated us. And then sometimes, I just remembered, the friend that I'm talking about, she and I and this other friend of mine, oh my God, this other friend of mine is an archaeologist now. The 3 of us, I'm like, how did we all 3 become friends? But anyway, we used to go downtown to IRT, where IRT was, Indianapolis Repertory Theater, where we just went and saw A Christmas Carol. And there was a Schultz's next to that. I think it was a Schultz's. And we would like, and you went downstairs, and we would go down there and eat. And I remember you could smoke in that restaurant. We would smoke clove cigarettes. We were such badasses, we thought. I wasn't really that bad of a kid in high school. I mean, like, I totally participated in my fair share of substances, but I really wasn't that bad of a kid. Like, I was either, like, being completely, like, a good kid on, like, a Friday night like that, or I was, like, sitting in my friend's basement getting completely wasted, or at my dad's house getting completely wasted by myself because they had gone to bed at 8 o'clock and nobody had any clue I was upstairs, you know, drinking, like, till the wee hours of the morning. I liked high school, you know, when, like, after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when I wasn't having to be at high school anymore, you know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed that. Somebody just told me I need to get on TikTok. Somebody just texted me that. Do you guys think I should get on TikTok? I don't even know what I would post over there. Anyway, we didn't go to movies in high school. I don't remember ever doing that. We would also go, like, some of the things that we did, well, we would just drive around a lot and just, like, listen to music and, like, talk and stuff. And, one of the things that we would do is we would drive around and look at these huge houses, compounds out here in Carmel. We would just drive around and look at those houses. There was this one, and it was called Flora Fauna Farms, and I have no idea how I remember that. And it was this huge Victorian house. It looked like something from a B.C. Andrews novel. And we would drive to downtown Indianapolis, and we would walk around downtown Indianapolis a lot. And there was like this coffee shop on the corner of this Hilton, and we would go inside there, and we would have coffee. I remember that we talked to this homeless lady for, like, we would go there, and I can't remember what her name was, but we would see her there, and we would talk to her, like we would have coffee and like we would buy her coffee and she would like be sitting in there and whatever, and we would buy her coffee and she would ask for a cigarette and we would give her a cigarette and we would like talk to her for like, I mean, this went on for like 2 months, 3 months or something. And she would tell us these stories about how she had been like, she had worked in like somewhere in Europe, I think it was France maybe, I don't know, as like an atelier, you know, like fashion designer's assistant. Like she worked on like, you know, these things, which is so funny because then later my neighbor, she did the same thing in New York City and I had no clue the entire time that she lived near us that she was like worked for Oscar de la Renta and stuff like that. But anyway, this woman like told us that she worked for, I can't remember, but anyway, it's been too long. But I do have in my basement with all of my high school notes and yearbooks and everything, I have this piece of paper that she wrote down. I'll have to look it up and let everybody know who it is. But she wrote down like her name and like where she had worked or whatever. And I remember we looked it up later and like there was like one of my friends found like an article with her picture in it from like 20 years, 30 years before. She was like totally telling the truth and we never saw her again. It was crazy. And then we would also go to, my senior year we did a couple road trips. We actually went to Chicago and stayed overnight a couple times. And, oh, I remember, okay, we would also go to the airport and walk around, but I just remembered, so I had a friend of mine, this is kind of a funny story, I mean, not funny, but I had a friend of mine who, her parents actually won the lottery, and they won like $500,000, I think, something like that. It was so weird that I'm just talking about the lottery the other night, I forgot about this, but my friend's parents won like $500,000 in the lottery. And like blew it in a year. And they moved from Carmel to southern Indiana where their family was from and to the small town down there. And they bought like this house with some land on it. It was a nice house. And they bought like one of their sons a house and set up college for my friend and all this. And they just like went through the money real quick. But anyway, but I mean, they bought things at like, you know, a house and whatever. And we would go down there and visit her. But actually, my friend that I went to like elementary, junior high, high school, and college with, like in graduate school, who Alex just ran into the other day, which is so funny. He just texted me that he ran into her. Yesterday he texted me that. She and I would drive down there a lot. Oh God, that was a long drive. It was close to Evansville, and it was just like, it was like a 3.5. We had to drive from Indianapolis to Terre Haute, and Terre Haute to Evansville. It was like a 3.5 hour drive, and we would like get off of school on a Friday, and we would drive down there and stay there till like Sunday, and we'd be back at home by like midnight on Sunday. My mom would be like, I don't understand why you guys drive down there for the weekend. We were drunk the entire time, is why. Because her parents did not care if we drank. We were just not allowed to leave the house. Those were some fun weekends, actually. But that's horrible. I look back and I just think it's crazy that parents condone their kids drinking like that in high school. I don't know. I mean, my dad would let me have like a beer or drink every once in a while and stuff like that, but never like on that level, you know? I can't believe I have vlogged this long. I've almost vlogged for like 40 minutes. Something about tonight or today kind of feels like a Friday, like when I was in high school. Like if I was saying to somebody earlier, who was I talking to on the phone earlier? And I was like, it sure doesn't feel like a Friday. Who was I saying that to? I don't even remember. Oh, I was talking to Melissa, and I said it doesn't feel like a Friday. She goes, no, it doesn't. This car totally did a U-turn where you're not supposed to do a U-turn. Anyway, but I was talking to Melissa, and I said, it doesn't feel like a Friday at all. And she's like, no, it sure doesn't. And, I totally just lost what I was going to say. I think, like, okay, so there's this song that I love, and it's called Roller Coaster, and it's from the movie Love, Simon. Have you guys seen the movie Love, Simon? It's such a great movie. Alex and I both loved it. And I had read the book. So if you don't watch my booktube channel, Becky Albertalli, who is a young adult writer, she's like one of my all-time favorite authors, young adult authors. She's fantastic. And she wrote Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. And then that book got made into the movie Love, Simon. And it was actually a really, really good adaptation. It was not exact. Excuse me. But they didn't really change a whole lot. And Love, Simon was very similar to the book, and I thought they were both equally really good. And then she wrote a book called Leah on the Offbeat, which is about a friend of his, like his best friend. I did not like that book. It's like my least favorite. But then she wrote a third book, and I can't remember what the third book was called, but I loved the third book. It's so strange that I can't remember what that book was called. But then she wrote a book with Adam Silvera, and Adam Silvera is also one of my favorite young adult authors. His books are incredible. And they wrote a book together called What If It's Us? And I read that last year, and it was so good. I think I read it this summer. It was so good. So, if you've never seen the movie Love, Simon, you should watch it this weekend. But it's very much a high school movie. But the parents are great in it, too. Jennifer Garner is in it, and she is so... Is it Gardner or Garner? Why am I blanking on that right now? She's so fantastic in it. The guy that plays the dad, I can't think of what his name is. But, like, he is this dad that, like, jokes, like, makes gay jokes. And then, like, because it's about Simon coming out. Like, that's what the whole book is about. And then when Simon comes out, he, like, feels so horrible about it. There's so much of that book and that movie that really reminds me of my own coming out experience. Especially, like, not with my dad. My dad never really made gay jokes like that. My dad was never anybody. My dad's, like, a really, really funny person, but not at the expense of, like, he was always very sarcastic with, like, making jokes about my stepmom and I, like, telling stories about us. But never, like, I don't remember my dad ever telling, like, any kind of offensive jokes or anything like that. So it was never that, you know what I mean? Something just flashed on my computer screen. I don't even know what it is. And it was just like, my dad could have cared less about when I came out. You know, he just could care less about that. I mean, he cared because he loved me, but like the fact that I was gay, he didn't care it wouldn't have mattered to him if I was gay, straight, whatever. He could care less. He loved me no matter what. And the movie is really great, talking about parents with that stuff. And I mean, the book too, but the movie almost kind of talks about it more than the book. The book, it's been a long time since I've read the book. What is that other, well, anyway, whatever Becky Albertalli's, oh, my lip gloss. I think I'm almost out of this. Whatever the third Becky Albertalli book is, everybody should read. It's about this girl. What's so interesting about this book, okay? It stopped and I didn't even know it. Anyway, I was talking about that there was like this discussion of the need for diversity in young adult books. And I said that actually on Twitter, I had just seen it. Sean David Hutchinson was commenting about that. And Sean David Hutchinson is another one of my all-time favorite young adult authors. He's fantastic. He wrote We Are the Ants, and he's wrote The End of the Universe. He's written like 6 or 7 books, and his books are just fantastic. I actually haven't read all of his books. So, and I think I have like 1 or 2 of them on Audible. Oh, he wrote Braveheart, which was his autobiography of coming out. I read that this last summer. I listened to it on Audible. It was pretty good. But there's this discussion, you know, about the need for more diversity in young adult books. And Becky Albertalli wrote this book. I wish I could remember what it was called. I'll have to pull over and let you guys know because it's such a great book. But the main character is heterosexual, and it's this girl, and it's about this crush that she gets and the developing relationship. But it's almost like, and the other thing is that I love that she does is it's crossovers from other books. So like, you know, like Simon makes an appearance in the book, and I think Leah makes an appearance in the book. But anyway, I could be wrong about Leah, but anyway, Leah for me was not one of my all-time favorite characters of life. In fact, she kind of annoyed me. I did not like that book, Leah on the Offbeat. I thought it could have been so much more. But anyway, literally almost every other character in the book is diverse in some way. Like, she does it, but it's not like in your face. It's like she does it so well. Just to kind of really show the world that we live in. It's such a fantastic book. I just remember, like, they go to hear a band play or something. I don't know why I just remembered that. It's so funny, I was talking about my friend, because there's like an A-frame house right there, and my friend, whose parents won the lottery, they, and continue to play the lottery for the rest of their life, they, I didn't even check my lottery tickets from the other night, they bought an A-frame house. We used to always think that was so funny, I don't know why. When we were in high school, my friend and I, we used to always go down there, and we called it something, like the little A-frame house or something. We used to always think it was so funny that they had an A-frame house. I don't know why that is so funny, though. It kind of is. Why is that? Why do I find some humor in the fact that they had an A-frame house? I don't know why. Do you like that I'm vlogging earlier in the day, or does it make no difference to you whatsoever? You're probably like, Peter, it makes absolutely no difference to us whatsoever. I was like looking up at the trees. I remember when I was a kid, and it's so weird. Well, first of all, I was just okay. I remember that I would draw these very like I don't draw well. And, like, I would love to think of myself as more artistic than I really am. But I'm just not. In fact, my ex wanted to always, like... Alex and I have done this a couple times, too. That we would go and get, like, what he liked to paint. So that we would just get canvases and go out somewhere and just paint. Or, like, one of the things that he wanted to do one time was we would just pick... we would just pick a word out of the dictionary. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Okay, we would just pick a word out of the dictionary, and then we would like do a painting about it, right? And we had these canvases that were like this big. We were sitting at the house watching some movie, I don't know what it was while we were doing this. These oil paintings or whatever they were. So the word was something like sadness. And he ended up painting this like scene of like the beach, and it was like, he was such a great artist, and it was like raining in the distance, and you could see the, you know, this beach, and there was like the footprints were like, I think there was like footprints, and they were kind of like going away in the sand, like they were washing away, and you could see like the water getting darker and darker. It was a beautiful painting, right? So I did an eye with a tear coming down, this huge eye, and then I put across the top and down the side, "Don't cry." I was so proud of it. I thought it was so good. Oh my God, he gave me so much shit for that for years. He'd be like, "Don't cry." Like, whenever something would come up, he would be like, "Don't cry." I am the worst artist ever. I took like all these art classes my first semester in college, and I had this like huge portfolio. My friend and I that I was talking to you about, we had to park out, like if you've ever been to like, so we went to IUPUI, which is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, and we had e-parking, and e-parking is like for all the students, and it's like you would get there and it would be like, you literally had to walk a mile, okay, on the ice and snow in February, and I would have this huge portfolio. If you've ever seen one of those artist portfolios, I had a huge one, and I'd be like slipping and sliding, and we'd be having cigarettes in our hands, like, I mean, just slipping and sliding through there and whatever. It was, God, I don't know why I took all those art classes. And then I would get into art class, and it'd be like 3 hours of like looking at my hand and like, or looking at my hand and like drawing. It was horrible. I was no good at it. Actually, I just like, not too long ago, that portfolio has been in my, I was gonna say my mom's basement. It's been in there since my mom was alive. It's been in the basement in the same spot. I finally took it and just threw it out. I was like, this just needs to go. I was like, this, I don't wanna look at it. I haven't opened that thing in 20 years. I don't wanna look at anything inside of it. This is just junk. It needs to go. I was so not good at that stuff at all. And I had this teacher that like, I just like, fell in love with, and she and I had such a great relationship together. She was a total hippie. Her name was Suzanne. She was so cool. I'm sure somebody out there that watches my vlog knows her. She moved to California. She lived in Michigan. She just was real earthy, and I remember this other girl and I from the class, we all became real good friends with her. Like, there's like 2 of these girls that were best friends, and then me, like the 3 of us became really good friends with her. And we went to her, she lived in the basement of this house that was by the art school. It was called the Blue House. And she would wear like, you know those like shirts, or they called dashikis, I think, or something like that. She would wear like those with like these long skirts. I mean, she literally looked like a hippie straight out of a Grateful Dead concert back in the day. She had real long red hair. She was just so cool. And so we went over her house. She invited us over to her house for tea, and we all sat on like, she had this like room that was made out of like curtains, basically, because it wasn't really a room. It was part of the basement. And she had like all of these pictures of the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I was like, literally, I felt like I was like having flashbacks to like the 70s. I mean, it was very cool though. And she's just one of the most interesting women I've ever met in my entire life. So sure of herself, so confident, you know, and just really gave, and very respected for what she did, and really took herself very seriously when it came to her art and her craft. Like, she didn't joke about it. Like, she was very serious about it. And she did these very, I wouldn't actually say that her art was anything that I loved. It was like, you know, a woman standing on a cliff and like her hair blowing in the wind. It was the very wispy kind of new agey looking kind of pictures and stuff like that. But she did well selling her artwork, but I wonder what ever happened to her. She was so cool. Just such a compassionate, kind soul, you know. She's such a good person. I have been blessed in my life to have met so many just amazingly interesting characters. You know, I bet at the time, if I met her, if I was 18 at the time, I bet she was probably 40. Oh, she had to have been. Maybe late 30s. Let's just say she was 40. I may be aging her up. So if that was 30 years ago, that means she's 70. It's weird to think when you start thinking back on your life of like all the people that you've met, and like all the, I mean, I've been, like I was gonna say, blessed to have had some just really beautiful, interesting characters come into my life, you know, that have taught me so much, so many valuable lessons that like I kind of forget some of the people that came into my life, you know. And I don't know why I was thinking of this guy, this crush on this guy when I was like 20. We were both like underage in this bar. He was so cute. He had real dark hair and like freckles on his face. I remember he was so cute. His name was Brian, and he and I like got drinking. We were like friends, but we like got drinking together one night. And I said to him, like, do you want to come back to my house with me, or my apartment with me? And he was like, yeah, sure. And like we were both kind of like under the intention of like we were gonna hook up. And I remember, like I said, well, we'll stop at the grocery store on the way home and we can get like something to drink, because like I was making sure that we left before 2 o'clock, because they stopped selling liquor in Indianapolis at 2 o'clock back then. But for some reason we got like to the grocery store later or something. I remember we just like laughing and whatever in this grocery store. I don't know why I remember this, but he got this bag of baby carrots. I don't know how I remember this. He got this bag of baby carrots. He was like one of the nicest, sweetest people I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, literally, I don't think I ever heard him say a bad word about anybody, and he was absolutely adorable. Like really like dating boyfriend material. I think he was getting ready to move. I think he moved to Nashville. And so he came out to my house, and we were like sitting there talking on my couch, I remember, and I lit all these candles and stuff. But we didn't hook up. Nothing happened. We didn't even like, I think we might have kissed for a little while and made out. But we ended up eating, like just sitting there on the couch, like a bunch of kids like laughing. And we were like eating these baby carrots like all night long. I don't know why I remember that. And like 2 years later, I also remember that that same Halloween, I had these two, like this ex of mine and my friend that took his own life. A friend of ours that did drag, she put them up in drag, and they looked like two of the cast members from the Golden Girls. And she also put, oh no, my light's on, this Brian guy up into drag. And I remember he showed up looking like Linda Evangelista to the bar, and they were so pissed. They were like, why does he look like that and we look like this? And they were standing like in the corner, and they had like these like, you know, like low heels on with like nude hose, and they were standing there in their nude hose with their shoes to the side because their feet hurt so bad. It was so hilarious. I'll never forget that. And I think my roommate at the time, she and I went as like hippies like we always did. But anyway, I've had this rule that goes always, okay? No matter what you wear for a Halloween costume, you still must look cute, okay? Like, the costume can be cute, fine, but like, you must still be like able to look cute, like a cute person, you know what I mean? So anyway, I don't know why I remember that about him, though. I think that's so funny that I remember that. But I remember we just sat there on my couch, like all night long. I could see myself like with my like legs pulled up to my chest, and he and I just kind of like sitting there talking, and all night long we like fell asleep on the couch. And or did he come into my bedroom later and we were like, maybe that's when we were making out? I don't know. I think we did make out, but that was it. It was nothing more serious than that. And then like 2 years later, I found out that he had like died of an overdose. I didn't even know that he did drugs and stuff like that. It was so sad. What do y'all think about those new Jeep pickup trucks? I'm not a big fan. One just passed me, or just pulled over in front of me. The battery's about to die. So I'll just keep on talking till the battery dies. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'll end it in just a second, but I love lip gloss. So sad. So many people from my youth are gone, you know, not just my family, but like friends, people that I just kind of randomly knew from going out. It's like every once in a while I catch myself wondering like, oh, I wonder what happened to so-and-so. And then I've forgotten that they passed away. You know, it's like, oh, I wonder what happened to, oh yeah, they died. It's like I completely forgot. It's weird. I think, you know, you're getting older when you kind of forget that people have been gone for a long time too, you know? You hear that car, my lord. Well, I'm gonna end this so it ends smoothly and transitions smoothly before the battery dies. But I think I'm at like about an hour of vlogging already, so I will come back a little bit later and vlog for a little bit more because I don't have really any plans for the evening. So all these cars, their sounds, my lord, it's like the Indy 500 here. So I will come back later and vlog a little bit later. Anyway, I will see you then. Bye. Okay, I'm back. It is 1:02 a.m. and I just dropped off Tanya Jean Applestein. I was sitting in her house for a little bit. I went home this evening and I got Burger King. Alex had this like work thing tonight that went real late, so I had Burger King, which was not healthy, but I don't care, it was so good. And then I took a nap with the dogs, and then there's like a winter advisory out. It's just like raining right now, but it's getting really icy and slick. So I'm gonna go over here to like the main roads. I'm not really on a side road, but I'm kind of like on a connecting road because I'm gonna go on the main road where they've salted them and stuff. But anyway, I took like a 2-hour nap with the dogs. It was fantastic. It was so comfy, cozy. And I put another blanket on the bed, and so it was like grandma's feather bed. And it was 6 feet high, 9 feet wide, soft as a downy chick. And yeah, so I did that. And then Tanya had texted me. Alex was still at his thing, and she texted me and said, do you want to go to Meijer with me? So I was like, yeah, sure. So I picked up Tanya, and then we went, and she got a fountain pop, and I got a water, and we went to, what is this? We went to Meijer, and she did a bunch of shopping, and she bought me these, because I only bought these 2 things, and she was like, you're always so nice for coming to Meijer with me, so let me get these for you. So I got 2 candle waxes to get excited for spring. Now I have to tell you, I do not love the, what do you call them, Yankee candle waxes, because I just don't feel like they burn very strong, but these smelled so good that I just could not help it. So I got this one, and it's called Life's a Breeze, and it has a sailboat on the front of it. It smells good. Smell it. How many of you just went to the camera, or how many of you just went to the screen and tried to smell it? I'm sorry. But it smells like fresh laundry and like a beach. It smells like this candle that I had back in the day, my ex and I had back in the day, called Ocean, and it was a Yankee candle. But this is, Tanya really liked that one, and like the more I smelled it, I was like, ooh, I think I really like that. There was like a, what was the other one that I smelled that I liked? Mrs. Meyer's has all of her spring stuff out too. And there's a honeysuckle that I like. It's nothing new. It's like the flavors that they had last year. Peony, I think lavender. It's all of the spring and summer flavors that they had last year. So, I mean, I'll probably buy some of those, but because right now I'm using we're using like the fir pine one, and then peppermint, I think, is the other one. But then this is Yankee Candle Sicilian Lemon. It's such a pretty cover too. And they're bright yellow. Oh my God, this smells so good. Okay, when I smelled this, I was like, okay, I have to have these. I know this is gonna probably sound, oh, it's breaking apart in there. Oh, it's just the edge. I know to a lot of people this probably does not sound very good, but it smells exactly like a lemon head. Which I was like, okay, then I'm hoping that it'll be really strong lemon. I love lemon smells. By the way, if you want to buy a lemon candle, I have lemon candles called Serenity and Peace from the Poorhouse Candle Company, linked below. You can go buy this. So that was that, and then we drove around, and then while I was eating dinner, I watched the 4th episode of, I only have 1 episode left, of The Confession Killer. And I fell down this rabbit hole of like Googling stuff about Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, who was his partner in crime, that supposedly killed 6 people, but confirmed that he did kill the Adam Walsh kid. Do you guys remember that case? So his dad is that Walsh that does like, I think, Unsolved Mysteries or something. He's written a bunch of books. They're the ones that started, like, I think the national, like, missing child thing started because of he and his wife. There was a made-for-TV movie. Something that Adam was in the title of it. And I think Jo Beth Williams was the mom. It was so sad. It was so tragic. I used to love those made-for-TV movies back in the day. Like, I Know My First Name is Steven. Did you ever see that? About the kid that was kidnapped. Oh, that one was so tragic, too. But, used to watch all of those back in the day. I don't know what the Adam one is called. I don't remember. But anyway, what was interesting about, so Tanya and I got in this long conversation about serial killers and talking about like Henry Lee Lucas, because she had watched it, and she goes, she texted me earlier. I'll have to tell you, I'll have to text you, or I'll have to tell you what she texted me, because she was like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm watching The Confession Killer. And she goes, all he did was drink strawberry milkshakes and lie and tell stories or something like that, because that's all he did. He just lied and said he killed all these people, and then they would bring him milkshakes and packs of Pall Mall cigarettes. It's craziness. And that whole thing is so scary when you talk about it from like a political point of view and like law enforcement, but then like just, I don't know, like all of it is just so sad, of him claiming these murders and giving these families like freedom just to find out that he didn't do it. And I don't know, maybe I'll find out more in the 5th episode, but And every episode like finishes on like a cliffhanger. So we talked about that, and we were talking about Otis Toole. And what I was telling her, what was interesting was when we read, so this was our January book that we read last year in the book club. We read The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule, which was about Ted Bundy. And it's kind of like one of the fundamental books if you're going to read like the canon of true crime novel or true crime books. And she was one of Ted Bundy's closest friends through the years. Like, she had worked with him and stuff like that. So then she followed the case and she wrote the book The Stranger Beside Me. And what's interesting about it is that at one point, this guy comes in and he gets like total access to Ted Bundy to interview him. In fact, I didn't watch all the confession tapes, but I do think that he is the guy that did the confession tapes. He's the same guy that's in The Confession Killer, the journalist. I'm almost positive he is. So there's still crazy billboards all over Indianapolis, and this one right here it's so strange to me. I don't even know. Like, anyway, it's just weird. What is it for? Anyway, some of these billboards, but so what was I gonna say? I just totally lost what I was gonna say. I don't remember. Oh, the same guy that was investigating and interviewing for, like, the journalistic point of view, Henry Lee Lucas, is the same person that interviewed Ted Bundy. And I remember on the Ted Bundy case, for some reason they thought that I'm maybe remembering this right, I don't know, that they thought because he was in Florida at the same time that the Adam Walsh thing happened, and they thought that he had something to do with it. And then they referenced somehow Henry Lee Lucas, and maybe this was in the live stream we discussed it, maybe it wasn't even in the book, I don't know. But Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole were implicated in it. And Ted Bundy was like, I didn't have anything to do with that. But like, he knew them somehow. I don't know how he knew them or knew of them or something like that. But the whole situation was very bizarre. And I think Ted Bundy was indirectly, like, implicated in that, but he was like, no, I only killed women, or something like that. I can't remember, but he said something. I don't know. It's just all of it so strange to read. But that Confession Killer is really interesting to watch. And then Tanya and I were talking about how we both want to watch that documentary about the football player. So I'm going to try to finish that tonight. I also want to listen to a little bit of my audiobook. Tanya was just showing me her Kindle thing, and that she's like, I don't know, something she, like, you know, loves to read on her Kindle or whatever. And I was like looking through her books that she had on there, and I was like telling her which books to, like, get and whatever, and I hadn't even like looked at the new books that had been out forever, except for on Audible. And all of a sudden the book came up that was like the book that I'm listening to on Audible, and I go, Tanya, that's the book that I've been telling you to read, that's the book you need to listen to. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to that book. So or she's not gonna listen to it, she's gonna read that book, Conviction by Denise Mina. And she was like, I thought you said it was called something else. I go, Tanya, right there, it's the cover right there. So anyway, I used to read on my Kindle app on my phone. She loves to read on her Kindle app. I can't. I just, like, sit there. I don't know. Like, I've read a couple books on it. I know right now I have Rotten Ruin, but I also have Rotten Ruin as an Audible book. I also have it as a physical book by, I think it's by John Mayberry. I also have it as a physical book, Kindle book, audio book. I have all three, and I haven't finished it. And I think they're turning it into a movie. It's a vampire series. It's like Rotten Ruin. There's like 3 of them. Rotten Ruin, Rotten something, and whatever. I started it, reading it, and I really liked it. I think I actually started it on my Kindle. If I pulled up my Kindle right now, I bet you anything Rotten Ruin would be in there. It'd be like the book that I would pull up. I read a couple Ellen Hopkins books because they're like really long. So like when I would go on vacation, I would like take the Ellen Hopkins books on a Kindle. But the thing about the Ellen Hopkins books is that if you've ever read one, they're they're written like a regular book. Like if you read them out loud, they would sound like a regular book, but they're done in like designs, and they look like prose in the book. It's really cool how she does it. And so it's kind of interesting, and it's kind of fun to read the books that way. And it doesn't do that on the Kindle. Does anybody have a Nook anymore? I think I'd just like to get a tablet, period. But I could like watch my shows on, you know, in bed, and then that way if Alex was sleeping, I could just like watch, you know, like from my tablet laying in bed. I mean, I could do it on my computer, but I don't like love to watch stuff on my computer. And I definitely wouldn't read on my computer, you know. I could read on my phone, but like, I think if I don't know, if I had a tablet, I might, like, it might be bigger, you know. I don't know. Do you guys have tablets out there? Do you have any recommendations for tablets? Do you like tablets? Which tablet would you get? Do people get tablets anymore, or is it just kids? My nephews are obsessed with their tablets. So then I left Tanya's, and she was telling me about this book that she was reading. Eric, her husband, was watching. He just went to bed right before I left, like 20 minutes, well, 15, 20 minutes before I left. But he was watching Slumdog Millionaire, and Tanya's like, this is like his third time watching that. She's like, he loves that movie. He was in the recliner watching Slumdog Millionaire. Back in the day, especially like the year that like between like when my ex and I broke up and like I met Alex, like I was over at their house, I mean literally almost every night. And Tanya and I would watch Nancy Grace, and we would watch, what else did we watch? Well, that summer we watched Big Brother, and she and I would do Big Brother After Dark, and we would just lay on the couches like them, and we would listen to, we loved when they like would whisper. If you ever watched it, they would like whisper, you know, on Big Brother. They'd like sit outside on the patio, and they'd like, or inside on the couch, and they would like build alliances, and they would talk about each other. And Tanya and I would just sit there for hours. We wouldn't even talk. We'd just sit there and watch it. And then we would watch, oh my God, we loved watching Nancy Grace back in the day. We watched a lot of movies. We go through the Red Box and we get a movie. And, it seems like so long ago. So tonight she was like, stay and watch an episode with me of that. She was going to start that Netflix show because her husband just went to bed. And I was like, no, Tanya. I was like, I want to get my vlog done. And I said, then I need to get back into this book that I'm reading, because I want to finish this book, because I got about 300 other books that I want to read. She's like, I know how you are. And I go, plus, I don't want to start something else before I finish The Confession Killer, because then I'll be like, oh God, I wish I could finish, you know, The Confession Killer first. So I was like, I want to finish that before I start another TV show, because then I'll be watching 2 TV shows at the same time, which is part of the problem. Is I'm watching, like, you know, like Grace and Frankie just came out. I don't want to start Grace and Frankie, because then I'll want to just like binge watch that. And then I got to finish The Confession Killer, and then I want to finish AJ and the Queen, and I want to finish season 1 of The Good Place, so at least I'll have like that season done. I'm so kind of into watching TV shows, and like that's really, I have to say, my goal of 2020, as stupid as that sounds, is that I want to take this year to really, yes, like focus on improving myself. I want, like, one of the things I do want to do is like get into really good shape, even though I keep on saying that I do the opposite, but like that is one of my goals. But I really want to enjoy like swimming a lot this summer, and being outside a lot, and I want to sit outside and read, and I want to listen to a ton of audiobooks, and I want to watch a lot of TV shows and movies, and just like be present and just really enjoy each and every day. Like that is one of my goals for 2020, and as corny as that sounds and stupid as it sounds, I know like for a lot of you out there that probably watch a lot of movies and TV shows, you're probably like, okay, that's some goal. But like for me, like I really don't do a lot of that. I don't just, I like that is like one of my character defects, is that I really have to work at being present and just being and enjoying things. And I'm always kind of like, one of the things that like I get kind of jealous of Alex, you know, about, is that like, you know, after brunch on Sundays, like when we come home, like I'll just be so driven to get stuff done, and he'll just lay in bed for, you know, ever until he goes to bed that night, and he'll like come down and heat up some pizza or something or get some snacks, but he literally just watches one show after another, and he just loves it. You know, he's just so relaxed and just loves watching all these shows, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be the year where I do that. Like I really wanna, why is it so dark all of a sudden? This is gonna be the year where like I really get into some shows and get excited about that. Like I really wanna do that. What is that? Kroger, it was like an apple and apple. It was like the sandwich they made out of apples. It was kind of cute. But anyway, I mean, that's not all of my goals, but that is definitely one of my goals, is to, you know, enjoy pop culture more, you know, and really like today, like driving around just listening to music was so enjoyable. I don't know, I just want to be, I think with PB in the last 2 years, I really learned to appreciate each and every day more and be present. But maybe not in doing the things that I really wanted to do always. You know, it was always about like getting stuff done. Like, is how I felt. Like getting errands done and setting up these appointments and going here and doing this, and you know what I mean? Like, because I felt very accomplished for the day if I had gotten a lot of things done, which that's important to me too, you know? It is important to me. But I think that I would be happier if I did some of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like when I went to the bookstore today, it was like, I had not been to the bookstore in so long, and I was like, oh my God, I just love being here. And talking to Tanya tonight about her Kindle, you know, and like books that she had read. She is reading like 4 and 5 books a week, you know? And I was like thinking to myself, there was a time when I was reading 3 and 4 books a week, and you know, I would go to the grocery store with her, and then I would like, you know, get some James Patterson book or David Baldacci book, and I would come home, or Dean Koontz, and I would come home and I would just literally read cover to cover. Like I just like would 3 hours before I went to bed, you know? And I'm a fast reader. You know, on top of like, I wasn't even listening to audiobooks back, well, that's not true. I was listening to cassette tape audiobooks and CDs and stuff, because back then they were on CDs and cassette tapes. But I miss that. I don't know, call it a simpler time or whatever, but I kind of miss doing some of that. You know, it's like, people always ask me, like, where do you find the time in a day? How do you get so much accomplished? Well, I do get a lot accomplished in a day, but I think at the same time, there are some things that I sacrifice, like, and I know some people probably think this is stupid and probably like, well, why do you even care? But I do sacrifice some things, like not sitting down and like watching a show all the way through, or, you know what I mean? Like watching it in parts and stuff like that. When those were things that in the past really brought me a lot of peace of mind and relaxation and things like that. So I'm gonna do more of that going forward, I think. Because I do enjoy that. So yeah, that was a rambling little thing there, I don't know. Do any of you struggle with that? Do any of you struggle with like, you know, it's like you do this and you do that and you make dinner for the kids and you work and then you're like driving here and like even doing errands, like, you know. Somebody said to me one time, they said like on the vlog, they said, you don't realize that like most of us only have the weekends and evenings to do errands, which I totally understand, right? But like a lot of the errands that I'm talking about are things that I have to do about things that I don't talk about on here, you know? Sobriety things, other things that I'm involved in, whatever, you know? And so it's not like I'm just mindlessly driving to the CVS to like buy paper towels or something. I mean, it's not like those kind of errands when I say I'm running errands, you know? It's like I actually have things that I have to do. But it's like all of a sudden, it's like, you know, 10 o'clock at night and I'm tired and I'm like, I just feel like I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that feel like, yeah, I haven't read a book in forever and I haven't, you know, like watched a TV show all the way through in forever. So I don't know, maybe for those of us that have a hard time. But I also really struggle with sitting in one place for a long period of time, which is like, people ask me a lot, like, why do you like drive around in a car and listen to audiobooks, or why do you drive around in a car when you vlog? I think it's because, maybe I'm just realizing this, I don't know, but I think it's because like I'm sitting in one space when I'm actually moving, because I really struggle sitting in one place. Like if I'm at home, I cannot sit for like 2 hours and watch a movie. Like I really have a hard time. I have a hard time watching like a TV show like RuPaul's Drag Race for an hour and just sitting there. Like I really struggle with that. Without getting up 3 times, and you know, if I'm eating food, like putting my stuff in the dishwasher, you know, cleaning up and coming back, and I just really struggle with like sitting in one space for a long period of time. So I think like for me, it's like to be able to be active and whatever. It's why I like watch 20 minutes of a show and then like I come back the next night and watch 20 more minutes of a show, and I don't know. So is there anybody else out there that's like me? That, I mean, I know that's more like the ADHD stuff, but is there anybody else out there that like really struggles with like, I don't know, just relaxing and being, I don't even know if it would be considered being present. I don't even know that. I feel like I'm pretty present in life. I think it's more like, I don't know why this camera is so dark tonight. I don't know what is going on. And maybe it's because I have a black shirt on and a dark hat, or sweatshirt, but I do every night. Like I've been wearing this sweatshirt. So, but do any of you out there like struggle with the whole idea of just like being present, and not present isn't even the word I'm looking for, but just kind of like watching a TV show or just sitting for hours on end reading a book? You're probably like, no, we watch YouTube every night for hours. That's why we're watching this extremely long vlog of yours, because tonight it's like, I'm at like an hour and 20 some minutes now. I need to get better at that. I don't know. I know Melissa is the same way. We've talked about that. Like Jason and Alex will talk about shows they watch, and Melissa and I just look at each other, and she's like, Peter, I have a hard time sitting there watching a show as well, you know? And back in the day, it was easier because like with Dance Moms or something like that, like I would have like 1 episode a week to watch. So I could like definitely keep up with all of that, you know? I thought of Dance Moms because Melissa and I used to watch Dance Moms every week. That show's not even on anymore, is it? Like it came back and then I think it just kind of failed, didn't it? Is it still on? The reality is Dance Moms is not Dance Moms without the original. Okay, I'm back, and oh my god, my eyes are killing me from wearing these glasses, or my nose is killing me from wearing these glasses and behind my ears. I was talking about the Dance Moms, and then my battery, it was at the end of the 23 minutes, and so when I turned it back on, I realized that my battery was flashing, so I pulled into the strip mall to change the battery, and then I realized I thought I had my other battery, but I don't have my other battery. So I am gonna end it now. So anyway, I was just gonna ramble on about Dance Moms and how much I miss the original days of Dance Moms anyway, because that was when it was the best. Point your toes, Nia. I miss that show. Anyway, I hope you guys are having an amazing Saturday. I hope you're doing something to enjoy your day today. Watch a show. Watch The Confession Killer if you haven't and you like true crime. Read a book. If you don't like true crime, watch Grace and Frankie. If you've never watched it, start it from the beginning. And trust me, you won't be disappointed. It's fantastic. Read a book. I'm reading Conviction by Denise Mina right now. You can read it with me. And then when I talk about it on the vlog, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or read any book. Read The Woman in the Window. It is so good, and it's coming out as a movie. The trailer is on YouTube right now, and it's coming out, I think it's set in May. And yeah, I think that's it. Just enjoy your day. And if nobody else has told you this today, I have to look close so I can see it. I love you. Make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day and you do your positive affirmations and your daily affirmations, and you say, I love you. You are important and you matter, and today is going to be a great day. Today is going to be an amazing day, and 2020 is going to be an amazing year. And most importantly, make sure that you pass it on to somebody else and let them know how important they are to you, how much they matter to you, and how much they impact your life in a positive way. You guys impact my life in a positive way every single day by watching these. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being along for the ride, so to speak. And I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!